back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a good show for you today. First up, we're going over is Chris Sale and his amazing comeback season for the Atlanta Braves. After that, going over the Phil Maton trade to the New York Mets, the Giants trade deadline, and some surprising all-stars from the American League and the National League. Now, before we do all that, though, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers to ensure that your question does get read in the air. Please use the link, GSMCpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show today. So, as I said a little times before, I am a little bit under the weather, so if I do sound a little weird, I do apologize, but just how it goes, I guess. So, yeah. Going into our first segment here, we are going to be talking about Chris Sale and his incredible comeback season for the Atlanta Braves. So, let's get into it. So, going back to the offseason, I do remember the Chris Sale trade to the Braves. It was very surprising. I checked my phone and I saw that he had been traded to the Braves out of nowhere. I saw the Passan tweet and I was like, wow. I mean, Chris Sale getting traded, it wasn't exactly on my radar, I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, it definitely was something I had in mind. It definitely was a possibility just because of the years he's had with the Red Sox, what it's been like. How all the underperformance, and he's won a World Series there, so it's not exactly like there's, something to gain from saying there. It's not exactly like, you have to fight to get something with your career at the Red Sox. No, he already was maybe the biggest part of why they won that World Series back in 2018. So he had already really accomplished what he needed to in Boston, and I kind of thought for a little while now, like a lot of people, that writing was on the wall that, okay, it was time to move on for both parties. He had an amazing career in Boston, a really fantastic starting pitcher. Wasn't the greatest when it came back to the end of his contract, and that is really when he got that second contract there with Boston, but still was a fantastic, fantastic player with them. Again, was a big reason why they won a World Series. So really his legacy had been secured there. And, he had some weird injuries at the end. He had some weird stuff. I mean, he missed all of a season because he fell off his bike. So, there was it seemed like it was time for him to go in regards to Boston, and getting traded to the Braves, it really was kind of shocking. The Braves were not a team I was expecting him to go to, but it made a lot of sense. He got to go back down south, back to his home in Florida, where he is from. Obviously, Georgia and Florida, pretty close. So, obviously, that was, I would say, a big part of that as well. The Braves needed some starting pitching in the offseason as well, really, to help out with Spencer Strider. And getting Sale there was obviously some reinforcements to that, and was a really good job. So it made a lot of sense, but I kind of thought they would go for more established starting pitching after losing in the playoffs, because their starting pitching really just did implode upon itself. So I did think they would do that. So getting the older Chris Sale on a one-year contract, who hadn't been great, was definitely a little surprising, but man, it's worked out fantastic. He's been one of the biggest parts of this Braves team, just made an all-star team with them. And yeah, just has been an absolutely fantastic, fantastic addition to this Braves team. Again, one of the biggest reasons why they really haven't completely fallen apart after all the injuries to Spencer Strider, to Ronald Acuna Jr., all that. So yeah, it's been a fantastic job by the Braves to be able to add him, to be able to recognize that this guy, he still has talent. He can still be an impactful player to our team. And yeah, ended up still being a really, really good player. So I think that was something that the Braves really wanted to target about him, and they ended up doing it, and yeah, ended up getting him, and he has been a fantastic, fantastic addition to this Atlanta team. So looking at his stats currently with this Braves team, and really they are night and day with the last year with the Red Sox. So first of all, this year he already has 17 starts. Last year in Boston he had 20, so already is very close to the starts he had last year. So obviously he's showing a lot more durability here in Atlanta that he had shown in Boston. And before that, in 2022 he had made 2 starts. The year before that, 9 starts. So 11 starts the 2 years before. So obviously it wasn't exactly like he was entirely durable his time with the Red Sox. And really, as I said, once he signed that second contract with them, it really did not end up being a great tenure there with him. So, but you look at this year now, he's already thrown more innings than he has in Boston last year, so that's something. And first of all, you look at the ERA, I mean, again, it's really night and day. Last year it was 4.30, this year is 2.74. And this year, his expected ERA is even below 2.74, 2.64. Last year's 3.61. His FIP is over a point and a half lower, which is incredible. He already has 3.5 pitching WAR last year at 2.1, so he's significantly over that as well. And you look at his K per 9. His K per 9 is up 1 per 9 from last year. His walk per 9 is down 1 per 9 from last year. His home runs per 9 is now even at 1, which is incredible for how home run heavy baseball is nowadays. So his BABIP is the same. His BABIP is the same as last year as well. So it's not exactly like he's getting insanely unlucky or anything. No, it's kind of just the same. His left on base percentage is at a reasonable clip at 76%. So there's a lot to like about Chris Sale right now. It seems like it's pretty sustainable. Again, I'm not sure if it's this sustainable. I'm still a little bit on the skeptical side. I do think at some point reality may be coming to crash down on Chris Sale. I think that he's still going to be a very solid pitcher for this Braves team. I mean, that's become certain at this point with how well he's done, but I just don't think that he's going to be able to keep up this kind of performance for a little while more. And I do think that at some point he is going to end up becoming, he is going to regress a little bit. I think that's just how baseball works. And, I mean, that's going to happen for a lot of people in the second half as well, whether that's positive or negative. So, I mean, it's going to happen, but I'm just not. I think at this point it's the question of how much will it be. Will it be a significant amount? Will it be to where he's still good? And so it's going to be interesting to me to see. And yeah, I'm very, very interested to, end up watching it. K per 9 again is 27.7%, which is up from last year, which is very nice. Again, his K percentage is up 4% from last year. His walk percentage is down a full percent. So absolutely fantastic. I mean, his barrel percentage is down 3% from last year, which is fantastic. He already had more hard hit balls let up last year than this year. So just everything is night and day for Chris Sale. And man, just this Braves organization, they know what they're doing. They make all these signings, these trades of people we don't think are good anymore, and they just really bring them back to their old form. And man, are they just absolute wizards doing this kind of stuff. And we always doubt the Braves organization. I don't know why. Again, they know what they're doing. They know what decisions have to be made, and man, are they great with this kind of stuff. So yeah, props to them, and props to figuring out Chris Sale will be a difference maker. I mean, the impact he's had on this team again has been absolutely fantastic. Once Spencer Strider went down, I, like a lot of people, was looking at this Braves team saying, okay, where do they go from here? You lost your best pitcher in Spencer Strider. You have a nice player left in Max Fried, who's a very solid starter. You have Reynaldo Lopez, who's who you just signed from a reliever to a starter. We don't know how that's going to work. How is 96-year-old Chris Sale going to be? How is he going to perform? And Lopez has been fantastic. Sale's been fantastic. And, man, they've really, really helped out this Braves team. They've really kept them afloat, really have gotten them still back into this NL playoff race. And I think a lot of people like me were assuming that they would kind of just flutter out of it. Maybe this would not be their year. Maybe they would finally have to retool a little bit. But, man, they have just been so fantastic. I mean, just imagine how amazing they'd be if Strider and Acuna were healthy. It would really be a sight to see. And yeah, just an absolutely fantastic season for Chris Sale here with this Braves team. Really just a full career comeback, something that I really did not expect. And yeah, he has been so good, and really looks like the Chris Sale of old. He really does. I mean, he really looks like the guy that I remember watching back in Chicago, back in Boston. He really does look like that guy. His fastball's been great. His slider is as nasty as I remember it to be. And just the way that he's really rebounded his career with this Braves team that is in a competitive state as well. It's not exactly like he has no pressure on him. No, these Braves fans care. They show up, and they're in a playoff race. So the fact that he's been this good as well there has been super impressive. And yeah, just looking at this Braves team right now, I still think they're really good. I still think they're a little lower on NL rankings than people expected going into the year because of the injuries to Spencer Strider, Ronald Acuna Jr., and they definitely have hurt. But getting people like Chris Sale, signing people like Reynaldo Lopez, trading for someone like Jared Kelenic, these signings and trades that of people that we thought were not great, of people that we thought aren't exactly difference makers in the year 2024, but the Braves knew something about them that we didn't. They were able to rebuild their value, make them valuable players for them, and really make them some of the big reasons why they have been as good as they have. And yeah, just an incredible job by the Braves. A fantastic job overall by this team. And man, man, oh man, just we can't doubt the Braves anymore, right? Just they know what they're doing, and just a really, really incredible job by this team. So good, just a great job by them, and just a fantastic comeback season for Chris Sale. So going to our second segment now. That was the end of our first segment. We are going to be talking about Phil Maton and the trade from the Rays to the New York Mets. A little bit of surprising news yesterday, so we will be talking about that, and we'll be going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So we talk about that. So thanks and bye. There we go. Thanks.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie. Welcome back to our segment 2 here. We'll be going over our second segment here, which is going to be talking about the Phil Maton trade to the New York Mets. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link, gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the show for today. All right, so talking about our second segment here, which of course is going to be about Phil Maton and his trade to the New York Mets. So let's get into it. Now, this is a trade that broke last afternoon, right before the Mets started their game. I remember seeing the notification. I got a notification from the Mets because I'm a Mets fan. I have the notifications on social media, and I saw the Mets have announced the following trade, and I was like, oh, who do we get? I was like, oh, do we make a big trade? And no, it was Phil Maton. So I got a little, deked out there, I will say. But it was nice seeing us make a trade. It was nice seeing that we are showing the initiative to add to this team, and I think it's a clear motive that even if we do not do great before this trade deadline, I think that we're not going to go fully selling. I think that we are going to end up trying to add at least as well. So I think that it kind of shows where we are, and that they do believe in this team at least enough to add Phil Maton, a guy on a $6 million salary for this year, who they are eating the full salary of. So they're adding a reliever for $6 million. I think that it shows again that they at least have some hope in this team. And yeah, trading for Phil Maton, I don't think it was something that I saw coming, but it wasn't out of the blue. I mean, I remember reading the offseason that there were a ton of rumors involving Maton and the Mets. I thought it made a lot of sense as well. He's just a good, solid middle relief arm, and he ended up signing with the Rays, of course, on a one-year deal with an option, and now the Mets just trade for him, around 5-6 months later. So, yeah, my overall thoughts on this deal were, again, I think that it was overall a solid addition for this Mets team. They really just need bodies in that bullpen. If you were watching the game last night, they were up like 8-2, and then it became close because the bullpen was so bad. They ended up having to put Diaz in the game to save it for 1 out, and just, man, the bullpen the Mets have right now is so bad. They just placed one of their better relievers, Reed Garrett, on the IL actually about 10 minutes ago while I was on stream. I just saw that, so I knew I was going to mention it in this segment as well. So, yeah, just, man, this Mets bullpen kind of is a disaster right now. It's really one of the big reasons why they haven't fully taken off, even with all their streaks in the playoff ranks. So I think adding Maton is a very solid buy low signing. You look at his stats overall just on the surface. They aren't that great this year, but you look a little deeper. You've seen in his last 11 appearances, he's only given up 1 run. He's done much better. He's done much better mixing his pitches. using them to his advantage. And, I've always liked his slider a lot. I thought he had a good mix of pitches for a relief arm. And, yeah, I just think overall this is a very nice buy low addition for this Mets team, getting him for cash considerations or a player to name later. And I think that overall, again, this is just a very solid addition, a very good signing, and that, just it's a very, very nice addition to this Mets pen. I think there's a lot of upside here with Maton. And right now, again, this Mets bullpen just needs some arms, just needs some bodies, and being able to add one in Maton, who again has a good track record on competitive teams as well, playing for the Astros, playing for the Rays, playing for Cleveland, competitive teams. It's a very nice addition. Obviously, the Mets like what they saw in him, seeking him out in the offseason, seeking him out now with the trade. So, yeah, I like it a lot, and I think overall it was a very good, solid addition to this Mets team. Now, for the Rays side, again, a second trade in those amount of weeks, really, that they have dealt with a veteran pitcher. Aaron Savali, of course, that was my main segment whenever he was traded last week. I'm not sure when that was. Traded to Milwaukee, of course. And so that's now the second time the Rays have traded a veteran pitcher. So it is going to be interesting to see what decisions they do make at the trade deadline for their own team. I don't think trading Savali and Maton are really signs that they're going to be buying, that they're going to be selling. I don't really think it's really anything in either direction. I just think that both players were not doing great as they expected them to once they picked them up. Of course, Maton being a free agent signing, Savali coming over in a big trade last deadline. Both had not done as great, and the Rays are a team that does not like to carry around dead weight. They have a lot of good players on their roster, even though there aren't superstars. They have 25, 26 good players on their roster always. And when a guy doesn't perform as he's trying and he's not a superstar, I mean, obviously you could look at Randy Arozarena and say that, he's not performing well. Why don't you just dump him? Well, because Randy has a superstar track record. Obviously, you're not just going to dump him. So you get what I'm trying to say. But yeah, looking at it from the Rays side again, I think it's just getting out dead weight, trying to get players opportunities. Shane Baz was coming back from the injured list when they traded Savali, so that was easily shown why they did that there, open up a spot for him. Apparently, the Rays have a lot of nice young bullpen arms in the minors that they like. Apparently, one guy, Edwin Uceda, who's bounced around from waivers really his career teams like the Mets, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, but the Rays apparently really like his stuff, so he could be called up in exchange for Maton. So I just think it was a good addition, but I think it was a good move by both teams. Mets a good addition to get another body in that rotation, in the bullpen, and the Rays to filter out a guy who they signed to a pretty decent contract who just hasn't done great, and I think it was time to move on for both sides. So, yeah, I think it was a pretty solid move for both teams, and I liked it. I thought it was good for the Mets. And again, the Mets at this deadline really just need some bullpen help. They have 6 or 7 guys to that starting rotation that can make start to very quality. I mean, Senga's coming back soon. You got Severino, you got Minaya, you got Quintana, you got Scott, you got Budo. That's 6 guys right there that probably are going to be in that rotation and are very solid. You have Brandon Sproat, who could be even up. You could even have Blade Tidwell, who are up. Those are 2 top prospects. Those are 8. You also have some other guys in the minor leagues as well who can start. I would have said Joey Lucchesi, but of course he was DFA'd for Maton. So David Peterson, I'm forgetting. Tyler McGill, I'm forgetting. So right there, I just named 10 guys who you could have start for the Mets, and I feel confident about it. So obviously they have a lot of starting pitching depth. They don't really need to add a starting pitcher. The lineup is pretty great. I mean, your lineup should pretty much be set once it's healthy. You're going to have Francisco Alvarez, Pete Alonso, Jose Iglesias. Yes, over Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil is a disaster. Mark Vientos, Francisco Lindor, Brendan Nimmo, Starling Marte, Harrison Bader, and then JD Martinez. So this Mets team is pretty much set, but they need 2 or 3 relievers in that pen to really help them out. And I think if they get those guys, I think really they could be a fantastic team. I really do think that they could overall be a very, very good team and really end up being a true competitor. I think really that's what's holding them back right now. And adding one of these guys in Maton, a buy low addition, who you obviously have had interest in the past, I think is very solid, is a very good addition. And I'm very interested to see what he is going to do here in Queens. Very interested to see what the decisions are made by the Mets at the deadline to help him out. And yeah, I think just overall, nice signing by them. They need bullpen help at the deadline. Please get it. As a Mets fan, I'm begging you, please please, really would help. I cannot watch this bullpen anymore. Just watch the condensed game of the Mets game on MLB, on the MLB YouTube app. If you didn't watch the game last night, you don't know I'm talking about the bullpen. Man, it was rough. Ooh. So, yeah, will be interesting to just see overall, again, what happens with this Mets team and just what the decisions are made at the deadline. Same with the Rays as well. The Rays are a very interesting team. I'm not exactly sure if they're going to buy, if they're going to sell. I think they could kind of do both. They might ship off some arms like Zach Littell, Zach Eflin, who are expiring not this year but next year. So it's kind of putting in both, getting prospects back, but shifting out money for next year, stuff like that as well. So will be interesting to see. And yeah, just Rays and Mets, two very interesting teams to follow as the trade deadline does get closer. And believe me, as soon as the All-Star break ends, you're going to be getting just a ton of content about the trade deadline. That's really going to be talking about till it comes to it. So yeah, that was our second segment here, talking about Phil Maton and his trade to the Mets, just going over it and just talking about for both teams what it means for them. And yeah, going into our third segment here, which is going to be talking about the San Francisco Giants and their trade deadline and just what decisions they have to make, buy or sell, that kind of thing. And yeah, just going over it, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We're moving into our third segment here, but before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, moving into our third segment here, it is going to be talking about the San Francisco Giants and their trade deadline. But before we do that, actually, there was two pieces of news that were significant that just did happen in this 5-minute time span, like 2-minute time span while I was over break. First off, Bobby Miller of the Dodgers was optioned. That was very interesting. He's kind of been a mainstay in the rotation for a little bit now. He had a really bad start yesterday, but getting optioned was not something I expected, so I think I'll talk about that tomorrow. And then also, Wander Franco, we all know the news about him. I was debating if I was going to mention it or not, but he, of course, did have criminal charges officially filed against him in the Dominican Republic for, the stuff. I don't really want to talk about it because it's very disturbing and unfortunate, so I don't really want to mention it. But I'm sure if you look up Wander Franco, you know it. But he has been placed on it. He has been placed on the restricted list by MLB, so it seems like it's coming to an end his career with baseball. So did want to mention that. But going to a more happy topic, I guess, about the San Francisco Giants. And so today Farhan Zaidi did have some comments to the media just about the trade deadline, just about his team in general, and I just did want to kind of talk about my thoughts on the San Francisco Giants and their trade deadline and just really going over this team and what I think of them. So let's get into it. So Farhan Zaidi did say that he doesn't really think the Giants need to fully have like a big name. He thinks that if they are going to add maybe guys around the corner, could be good guys, really just around the edges, could be good players. So that is interesting, and I just want to talk about it, just give my overall thoughts on this Giants team and just what I think about them. So right now, if you look at this Giants team, you look at the NL West, of course, they are in third place behind the Dodgers and the Padres. They are 10 games behind the Dodgers, 2.5 behind the Padres, tied with the Diamondbacks actually for third place as well. So that's also there. And then the wild card, they are 2.5 behind in the wild card. Braves, Cardinals, Padres, Mets, Diamondbacks are above them. They're tied with the Diamondbacks, but you got what I mean. So looking at this Giants team, I think the question we have to ask is, are the Giants going to buy? Are they going to sell? Are they going to do nothing? Are they going to do kind of a hybrid? And honestly, I've kind of changed my mind about the Giants over these past few weeks. I kind of think they're a good team, and I kind of think they should buy. Now, I'm going to explain why, but I think they could be a competitive team. Now, I think a lot of teams you have to find something to stand out within the center wildcard race, and I think the Giants do. The main criticism I've had for them has been their offense really this entire season. And you look at the stats right now, it's gotten much better. Like, there are definitely some pieces here, and it's definitely improved a lot, and there's been a lot of things that I like about it. First of all, you have Matt Chapman. He's done much better as of recently. 113 weighted runs created plus, and with the offense he has, I mean, that's very valuable. Jorge Soler has been much better recently. Still not great with a 1 or 2 weighted runs created plus, which of course on paper is fine, but when you don't play defense and when you're the DH like he is, obviously that's not exactly something you want. You would like to be much higher. So I still think that's solid numbers, but again, for a DH, needs to be better, but he's been better recently. Mike Conforto's been a very good bat in the corner outfield. Patrick Bailey has become really a superstar catcher for this team. Heliot Ramos is an all-star bat now. Mike Yastrzemski's always going to be a very solid bat. Lamont Wade has been really good at first. Like, there's a lot to like here for this Giants team. I think they have a good catcher. I think they have a good first baseman in Wade. Their infield is a little bit iffy, but I'll go over that. Third base, Chapman, good. Outfield, Ramos. You have Ramos. You have Yastrzemski. You have Conforto. You then have Soler at DH. I like it a lot. And honestly, the pitching, I've talked about it before, but there's a lot of talent here. You of course have Logan Webb, who is a certified ace in this league. You have Kyle Harrison, who has become a very nice young starting pitcher in this league. You're getting back Alex Cobb. You're getting back Robbie Ray. You're getting back one other person whose name is completely slipping my mind. You have Jordan Hicks there as well, who is really good. So, yeah, there's a lot to like about this Giants team. And I think that, honestly, I think they should buy. I think their rotation, once it gets healthy, once it gets to that second half, could end up being really good. Oh, sorry, Blake Snow is who I meant to say, but they actually got him back yesterday. So he's there in that rotation as well. And I'm sure he looked better recently. Once he gets healthy, I'm sure he'll be a better pitcher. Maybe not to the Blake Snow the Giants fully expected him to be, but I still think he'd be a very solid piece. And honestly, the Giants have some clear needs, but I think they're fixable. And I think that they should go for it. I think this is a team that has a lot of nice pieces. Again, their pitching rotation is very good. I really like that top two of Cobb and Harrison. Of Webb and Harrison. I'm a big fan of Alex Cobb. I think Robbie Ray can end up being a pretty good player. I think Blake Snell can only do better. I mean, obviously. And there's a lot of good pieces. I think really what you need to work on is the middle infield. You, of course, have Wilmer Flores and Nick Ahmed there for the majority of the year, but Flores has not done great this year being in a full-time starting role. I think maybe moving him to the bench in a full-time platoon role could be nice. And shortstop, you just DFA'd Nick Ahmed for assignment, so obviously it did not work out. So if I'm them, I'm trying to get a middle infielder. Maybe they call up Marco Luciano from AAA finally and make him the starting second baseman and shortstop. That could be interesting. I don't think it happens, but hopefully. And yeah, I mean, there's a few middle infielders you get. I think Jonathan India is someone I've mentioned a lot in this show, but I think he can make a lot of sense to end up slotting into that shortstop, second base position for this Giants team. I think Jazz Chisholm makes a lot of sense for this Giants team. He also really fits the mold that they like of versatile players. I mean, you look at the guys they have, like a Wilmer Flores, like a Lamont Wade Jr. They are very versatile players, and I think the Giants really like that kind of mold for their players. So I think he can make a lot of sense filling in at second base and shortstop. So honestly, I think the Giants have some pretty good talent here. I think that they should end up buying, and I really like what they have going for them this year. I really did not expect to say that, but over these past few weeks, I've kind of quietly observed what they've done. I've observed the talent in their team. I've seen how well the hitting has done over these past few weeks or so. The pitching coming back, which I've talked about a few times in the show as well. So I think there's a lot to like right now. I think there are a lot of good pieces building up within this Giants organization and this team right now. And yeah, I think it's very exciting if you're a Giants fan. I think there's a lot to like, and yeah, I think overall it's very, very exciting to end up seeing what is going to happen with this Giants team. Now, looking at the NL wildcard is where it gets tough. You just have to think about what teams you better than. And I don't know if you're fully better than anyone, but I don't know if you're not. I think that a lot of these teams are on the same path, and you look at a team like the Cardinals, the Padres, the Mets, the Diamondbacks, the Pirates, the Reds. I think you're on around the same level as those teams. I think maybe I would prefer the Mets or the Padres to you. But I also think that if you add some talent, if you add some significant talent and players here, you could be on that level. And I think the Giants have the prospects to do it. They have the depth within the organization to do it, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do. But if I'm them, I'm buying, and I wouldn't think twice about it. I think they really do have a nice future here in San Francisco, and I like what they're adding. Now, going after that, if you are going to sell, I mean, man, you could really sell a lot. You could get a lot for Matt Chapman. You could look to maybe sell a guy like Mark Yastrzemski, maybe even get Wilmer Flores, even though he isn't hitting great. Maybe even Lamont Wade, if you really want to truly blow it up. I just don't think it's really worth it. So on the Giants, I'm buying. I think there's a ton of good pieces on this roster, and I'm really investing into it. I think that there, again, is a lot to like here, and a lot of nice, talented players that I really think could propel this Giants team to contention and really making claim for it to make the wild card and end up making the playoffs. I mean, obviously you're not going to win the division. You're not going to beat up the Dodgers, but you can win the wild card, I'd say, and I'd be excited to see it. So very interested, and yeah, just very excited to see what decisions are made here for this Giants team and Giants franchise. So yeah, that is my third segment here, talking about the San Francisco Giants and the potential trade deadline they could have. Moving into our fourth segment here, we will be talking about some AL All-Stars that were surprising, some guys I really did not expect to be All-Stars, not talk about, and just talk about their seasons and just going over what did happen for them. So yeah, going into that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth segment, which is going to be talking about some American League All-Stars that I thought were pretty surprising. Some guys that I really did not expect to be talking about as All-Stars when I started it this year. And just going over their seasons, how good they've been, and just how nice of a story it is that they have ended up making this All-Star team. And just, how nice it is that they are having a career as they are. And yeah, I just want to talk about that and, give some positivity to these guys and how well they have ended up performing this year. So, first guy I want to talk about here, as you can see on the screen, is going to be from the Boston Red Sox. First of two, actually, Jarren Duran. You can see the Red Sox jersey behind me right there. I just added it recently, yesterday, if you noticed, and fits well today for talking about the Red Sox, which we are going to be talking about a good amount. So, yeah, going into this year, I did not think really much of Jarren Duran. He was really a top prospect in this Red Sox organization for a little while. That had not lived up to standards, had not lived up to being the guy that the Red Sox fans thought he would be, and he ended up being just a okay player who was, just kind of solid. I mean, you look last year, he's pretty good, but I think a lot of people weren't expecting him to really carry it over, and man, has he done that this year. You look at this year so far, 120 weighted runs created plus, same as last year, being consistent. His BABIP is a little high. Last year was at 381, this year at 337, but again, I've talked about it before. Duran is a fast guy, and fast players are going to have a higher BABIP than other people, and it's not going to really be a sign of regression because you can beat out those ground balls, you can beat out balls in play, and I think that it's really not something we should look at as something that's fully unsustainable. His OPS is at 809, which is only 20 points below last year. His K percentage is down from last year. His walk percentage is up from last year. His K to walk ratio, of course, is up from last year. You look at his barrel percentage, it's up 4% from last year, which is fantastic. His hard hit percentage is around the same as last year as well. So his expected WOBA and his WOBA are basically the exact same. So again, it's not like he's getting fully fully lucky and it's unsustainable. No, he's having a really good, really solid, sustainable season for this Red Sox team. It just has become a great player for them, has become their leadoff hitter, and just a really nice story for him to be able to come into this All-Star game, being a first-time All-Star, really deserving it as well, really representing this surprising Red Sox team that I think he really really represents well, because there are a lot of players on this Red Sox team, one we'll be talking about at the end of this segment as well, who we did not expect much from, but have been really, really good this year, have been very solid players on this team, and yeah, just very good season for Duran here with this Red Sox team, very solid, and just props to him for how well he's done, and happy for him. I think this is a guy that really has worked hard, as Alex Cora said, plays the game the right way, quote unquote, and yeah, it's just been a very solid, good player, and someone I really enjoy watching as well. Really nice speed combination at the top of that lineup, plays center field really well. Next player we're going to be having is maybe the ultimate example of this, from the Cleveland Guardians, David Fry. Now, I talked about this quote before when I was going over the All-Star reserves, and David Fry said a quote that someone asked him was, "Did you expect to be an All-Star this year?" And what David Fry answered was, "Yes, a AAA one." So obviously it shows this is not something on his radar, but Fry was a guy who came over in a very, very small trade with Milwaukee a few years ago. The Guardians were just adding catching depth to their team, and Fry was a good catcher that could hit decently well in the minor leagues. And man, he has just absolutely exploded with this Guardians team, become one of the biggest reasons why they have been so as good as they have been. I mean, you're looking at him this year, his weighted runs created plus is 155. 155 as a guy who plays catcher and DH. That's insane. I mean, that's incredible numbers. You look at his weighted runs created plus against lefties, it's at 201. 201. What happened there? I mean, how does that happen? He has 74 at bats as well. It's not exactly like he's not facing lefty. It's not like it's a small sample size. No, it's crazy. So just an amazing season for Fry. Has become, again, one of the big reasons why this Guardians team has done so well this year, why they have exceeded so many people's expectations for them. And man, just he's been so fantastic. Has been a huge part of this team, has been a huge piece of this hitting core, has become a fantastic designated hitter for them, and just, man, what a player he has been for this team. So fantastic, and yeah, overall just an amazing player for this Guardians team. What a story. As I said before, this is why baseball is the best sport. Who would have thought that a guy like David Fry would be in an all-star team? Incredible. Going over our third segment here. Sorry, our third player here, not third, you should just saying segment. It'll be from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Tyler Anderson. Now, I've talked about Anderson before as well, doing a whole segment on him and some trade rumors, but Anderson was a guy who really revitalized his career with the Dodgers a few years ago, signing a one-year deal, leveraged that into a big 3-year deal with the Angels after his great season, and was so bad last year in the first year of his deal that he was placed on waivers by the Angels, and no team wanted to pick him up, even though they could have had him for free because they didn't want his contract, because that's how bad he was. So, yeah, Anderson has really rebounded from that, has become a fantastic player for this Angels team, has had amazing stats this year. His ERA is significantly under 3. It's been amazing, and just, yeah, has turned himself into one of the biggest trade chips at this deadline. Has become truly an incredible player, and man, what a surprising all-star. I really did not expect him to have as good of a season he's having this year. Has been so fantastic with this Angels team. Has been just, again, I can't really think of any other words that describe how good he's been, but I really did not expect him to have a good year. I just thought it was another bad contract given out by the Angels. And, man, he's been so good. Such a big part of this Angels team, even though they stink. And such a great addition to this rotation. And some teams can be happy to have him at this trade deadline. And, yeah, what a nice season he's had. What a great season. Going into our fourth final player here, he is also from the Boston Red Sox, but this time a pitcher, Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck, I mean, man, what a season he has had for this Red Sox team. Again, a guy that I thought was just kind of mediocre, like a lot of this Red Sox team, like I thought Jarren Duran was. A guy that I thought, had some potential as a younger player, but never really is going to live up to it. Was just going to be an okay, decent, solid player for the Red Sox for the rest of his career, doing really nothing too significant or nothing special, but man, is he absolutely broken out for this team this year. One of the biggest reasons why they're firmly in this playoff race, and just had an amazing season with this team. You look at the year so far, he's had 2.68 ERA, 18 games started. He's thrown 111 innings, already more than last year. Over 100 strikeouts already more than last year. K percentage is up from last year. Walk percentage is significantly down from last year, which is one of the biggest concerns like a lot of people had for him. His FIP is the exact same as his ERA, which is insane. I mean, you look at some other peripheral stats as well, going a little bit deeper on it. His expected ERA is 3.79, which is really not that bad, so a lot to like here. Again, his FIP is the exact same, so he's really not getting that unlucky by some stats, and I just think that he's had an amazing season. Has become, honestly, an ace-level pitcher for this Red Sox team, and it's just become such a fantastic player for this Red Sox team. So good. I mean, really. And, man, just such a good addition, this Red Sox young core. They are surprising a lot of people with how well they've played this year. This young core, again, has really surprised a lot of people, and nobody expected them to be in the playoff race this year. I don't even think Red Sox fans did. I did not expect them to. And I kept giving them crap for not signing a big starting pitcher, but when you have guys playing as well as Tanner Houck, I don't really think you need to. So, yeah, just a great season by Houck, and a great season by this Red Sox team. And yeah, what an incredible breakout season for him. I did not expect him to do this well. So, yeah, that is our fourth segment here, going over some surprising All-Stars in the American League. Just to recap, we have from the Boston Red Sox, Jarren Duran. From the Cleveland Guardians, David Fry. From the Los Angeles Angels, Tyler Anderson. And from the Boston Red Sox, once again, Tanner Houck. Moving on to our fifth and final segment here, we're doing the same exact thing, though, for the National League. Oh, sorry. There it is. Going over some talented All-Stars for the National League. And, just going over those guys and giving my thoughts on them and just the amazing seasons they've had. So, yeah, going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks, and bye. And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fifth and final segment today, which is going to be talking about some surprising All-Stars in the National League and just going over that. So let's get into it. Now, I just did do this with the American League, And I wanted to do with both leagues just to give us some shout-outs to some guys that I really did not have on my radar being all-stars this year and just the amazing seasons they've had, really surprisingly, and just go over them and what my thoughts are on them. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, first off, we have from one of two players, actually, from the Philadelphia Phillies, Alec Bohm. Bohm was a top prospect coming out of college, was drafted second overall by the Phillies in the draft, and man, did really not live up to his expectations. Was supposed to be, a power hitting third baseman, a guy who could be a franchise cornerstone there at the hot corner, and really had not lived up to that. He had been a solid, good player for this Phillies team, but really nothing more, nothing less. I mean, had just been okay. His defense had really never been good as well, so that was really tough. I mean, it would have been different if he could have been maybe a Matt Chapman type player where, his offense wasn't amazing, but it was, it was passable, and his defense was really good. But no, his defense was never that good, and with the way his offense was playing, he had really become an unfortunate player for this Red Sox team. Phillies team, I was thinking of the last segment, had the last segment on my mind there, but had become, really not a great prospect for this Phillies team, and really not lived up to expectations. And I know a lot of Phillies fans were hoping to replace him, but I'm sure they're happy they didn't this year, because you look at his stats this year. His weighted runs created plus is up to a 129. He's in the home run derby. His OPS is at 825. His ISO is at 188. Man, he's just been out of nowhere. Finally got up to his potential that Phillies fans were expecting from him for a long, long time. It's just been so good. You look at his barrel percentage is up full 3%. Hard hit percentage is up 4%. Just fantastic. Again, is in the home run derby. I really did not expect that this year. He's pulling the ball a lot more, hitting it less to center. Hard hit percentage is up 8%. Just an incredible year for him. And again, I think is one of the big reasons why this Phillies team has been as good as they have been this year. We expected them to be very solid, be just okay, but the way that they've been just truly incredible this year and been maybe the best team in baseball, in my opinion, clearly the best team in the National League, has really been unexpected. And I think performances of guys like Alec Bohm have been really one of the big reasons why they have been as good and really not as good as we expected them to be. So, even better. So, yeah, just a fantastic season by Bohm for his Phillies team, and has been absolutely incredible. Next off, we're talking about a man I mentioned a million different times on my show because I still cannot believe the season he's having. Jurickson Profar from the San Diego Padres. Profar is having a unbelievable season for this Padres team. I mean, he's been absolutely fantastic. Been an MVP candidate. Jurickson Profar, an MVP candidate. Yes, you heard that right. Imagine telling me before the year that Jurickson Profar would be an MVP candidate. I would have looked at you like you were crazy. And wow, he's been so good. Absolutely fantastic this year. I mean, you look at his stats, they're just unbelievable to look at. I mean, the guy has a weighted runs created plus 160. He's 60% above league average. You look at his barrel percentage, it's at 7.5, which is 3.5% up from last year. He almost has already the same amount of hard hit baseballs as he did last year. It's really incredible. It's just the way Profar has been hitting the baseball, has been performing for this Padres team, has really been something that I don't think anyone was expecting, of course. Is now able to go to the All-Star game in his old home stadium of Texas, be able to perform there, and just absolutely incredible, and a fantastic season for this Padres team. Has been a huge reason why they've stayed consistent in this playoff race, because his performance has just been so good. And I really, again, there was no part of me that thought, okay, you know what, Jurickson Profar is going to be the best hitters in baseball this year. And if you think he did, you were lying. You did not think that. Just the way that he's performed this year is absolutely incredible. And yeah, what a season he's having. Next, we have a man I've been championing on the show for a little bit now. Also from the NL West, the San Francisco Giants this time, Heliot Ramos. Ramos has been so incredible this year. I talked about him a little bit in my Giants segment. To go on further, He was a guy that was a top prospect in this organization for a little while, never really lived up to the hype or the pedigree that he had as a prospect. And finally, this year, he just broke out. I mean, his weighted runs created plus is absolutely fantastic. His OPS is amazing. He's become really one of the best corner outfielders, one of the best hitters in baseball. And, yeah, just overall has been such an incredible player for this Giants team. I mean, really just has been such a fantastic player. Is one of the big reasons why before I said the Giants should be able to buy, because they're having bats like him. Ramos has really added a whole new dimension to this Giants team, and this Giants team really has been lacking a good, young, power-hitting corner outfield bat for a little while now. And having Ramos be able to fill in that archetype so perfectly in this lineup, be able to be an all-star on this team is really incredible. Props to him. Props to how well he's done. And, yeah, just an incredible year for Ramos. And, man, what a season he's having with this Giants team. A true breakout campaign. Absolutely fantastic. Next, we have a man I've also talked about before a little bit in the first segment from the Atlanta Braves, Reynaldo Lopez. Lopez came over, of course, from changing from relief pitchers who started this offseason with the Atlanta Braves. And, man, what an addition he's been. I mean, has absolutely broken out as a starting pitcher, has become, honestly, one of the best in the entire league. Is an all-star this year somehow. I don't think anyone expected Reynaldo Lopez to be an all-star. Not just an all-star, but an all-star as a starting pitcher. I think a lot of people were maybe expecting him to be an all-star, of course, as a reliever. But when the fact that he changed from a reliever to a starting pitcher for the first time in over 5 years, and now is an all-star and may even start the all-star game is incredible. I mean, just look at the stats Lopez has had this year as a Brave. They're just drop your jaw to the floor. Like, where the heck did this guy come from, right? I mean, just the incredible stats he's had as a Brave this year. As a starting pitcher, I want to add again, that's the most important part. As a starting pitcher, are just drop to the floor, incredible. And, man, again, I talked about it a little bit in the first segment, but the way him and Chris Sale have been able to keep this rotation afloat once Spencer Strider went down is really something for the ages. And what an incredible story this has been for the Braves, and what an incredible story it has been for Lopez. Such a great season he's had, and yeah, just really great job for him, and a really great start. Finally, we have, again, from the Philadelphia Phillies, another relief pitcher now, Jeff Hoffman. Hoffman has had a very interesting career arc. Top prospect for the Rockies, never really panned out there. Went to the Reds, never really panned out there. Went to the Phillies, who made him a reliever, and something just clicked. He's been one of the best lockdown middle relief arms for a little while now in this league, and has been such an important piece of this Phillies team. I mean, his ERA might not be the most outstanding. I mean, it's around 3 right now, which is still very good, by the way, I want to add. But at the same time, the way that he's been so consistent in the middle of that Phillies pen, in the middle of those games for them, has really just been something to withhold. And, I mean, he's just been such a valuable asset for them. Such an important arm, and when you're a Phillies team that leads as many games as they do, that that leads as many games as they do, you need a lockdown bullpen arm to help you out. And getting a guy like Jeff Hoffman to the middle of this bullpen to give the bridge to guys like Orion Keckering and Jose Alvarado, really mainly to close it off, has been such a valuable thing for them. And yeah, just a great bullpen arm for them. Really happy for him to be able to end up making this all-star team. I think he really deserves it. Was afraid they were not going to put him on because, he's not the shiniest name. But I think being in the Phillies, who have been as good as they, have been, of course, this year, has really helped him out. So happy for him to be able to get on this team, get some recognition for how good he's been. And yeah, just a really good year for him. And, he's a local kid, is from New York. Obviously not really from the city. He's from Latham, which I believe is upstate. But happy for him as well. So, yeah, just overall happy for him. And, yeah, just good for him that he's able to make this roster and got some recognition for how good he's been this year. So going over the 5 again, we have Alec Bohm from the Philadelphia Phillies, Jurickson Profar from the San Diego Padres, Heliot Ramos from the San Francisco Giants, Reynaldo Lopez from the Atlanta Braves, and then Jeff Hoffman once again from the Philadelphia Phillies. That is our show for today, guys. That is our 5th and final segment. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so not only get notified when I upload, but all the other great content creators on this channel too. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. I'm your host, Sam Menzie. Thank you for watching my show today, guys. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful day outside. Please enjoy it. We'll see if baseball throws at us over the week, throws at us tomorrow, and we'll see you then. So thank you and bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great.